Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back. Today we are doing the 20,000 subscriber special, and as promised we are doing a Q&A to answer some questions that you guys asked not too long ago on a YouTube community post. But first, I do just want to say thank you. We are at 20,000 subscribers, and that's a number that I just can't even comprehend. That even hitting 10,000 was completely absurd, and it's really all thanks to you guys. Continuing to watch the videos, subscribing because you thought the content was worth your time, and for those of you who went above and beyond, interacting in the comments and dealing with all of my nonsense, and the guys who joined the Discord, where I get to interact with you on a daily basis, and other community members as well as mod creators, I just never expected something so awesome from uploading some stupid videos to YouTube, and it's really all thanks to you guys, so thank you. Another thing really quick before we begin is I do have a bit of an announcement. The Survivor series is coming back. So those of you who have been waiting very patiently, ignore my camera there, I don't know what it's doing. For those of you who have been waiting very patiently, the Survivor series is returning, though it is returning in a bit of a weird fashion. As you may or may not know, there have been some technical issues with that save profile, and I have been working hard to try to fix them, and I finally got the save working, just not as expected. So it's going to return, but it's going to return in a very weird way, and you may see some familiar faces that you were not expecting to see. So I'll just leave it at that, and it'll pick up very soon on a weekly basis, just like it did before, once a week with some really long episodes. So if you enjoy that series, stay tuned, it is coming back, along with the Sim Settlements 2 Chapter 2 when that releases. So some more narrative stuff is coming very soon for those of you who do enjoy it. Now let's go ahead and move on to the questions. Let's go ahead and start with user Jibsor, and also apologies in advance if I mess up your names, because I will. Thanks for being such a positive force in the modding scene. Is there anything that inspired you to start making mods for Fallout yourself? I've been wanting to make mods for a very, very long time. Since I was younger, since before I even graduated high school, when I was watching Al Chessbreach reviewing New Vegas mods, I always wanted to be able to learn how to make mods, and I never thought that I'd be able to. And it turns out if you just try hard enough, mess around in the CK, and have lovely, lovely mod authors to help you on Discord, you can do it. It is something that is doable, and I'm super happy to be able to make not only tweaks to the game, but standalone weapons like the skewer and my upcoming project that you guys voted on, which, by the way, announcement as well, is going to be the Pulse Carbine. That won by a landslide. So that is going to be the next mod. I'll have a video with details about where that's going coming soon. But yeah, inspiration in particular was definitely just watching YouTube videos, Al Chessbreach in particular, all of the cool mods that were coming out, and I just, back then, there was no thoughts of a Fallout 4 coming anytime soon, so I anticipated making mods for New Vegas, and then Fallout 4 drops, and here we are. And I really hope that I am able to get some more cool quality mods out, besides just the skewer that I keep talking about. The next couple of questions come from Matthew Overstreet, who asks, what's your favorite Fallout story from the lore, and which faction from the franchise do you feel most aligned to? So, two separate questions. My favorite story in the Fallout lore. That's a bit of a tough one. There are just so many side quests in the Fallout games, but I think the one that I always love the most is Raul's companion quest line in Fallout New Vegas, or not necessarily the quest line, but the storyline. As you uncover more and more about Raul, the companion, you get to hear his backstory in different parts of the world, which is always the stuff that I'm most interested in, because he talks about what the apocalypse was like in Mexico, which is outside of the US, and that's a lot of stuff that we never really get to hear about in the Fallout lore. So I definitely think that that one is the most interesting to me. And as for which faction I feel the most aligned to, that's gotta be the NCR. As you probably know, I am an NCR fanboy and always will be. The NCR is my go-to. I got started in Fallout in New Vegas, and I always align myself with them because, spoiler alert, I don't really align myself with slavers. Who would have thunk? And I even adopted the name. I mean, the name Degenerate Dak comes from what the Legionnaires would call the NCR, which is degenerates. I adopted the negative into a positive. Other people may not see the name that way, but that is actually where its origin comes from, is the insult from the Legion. I embraced it because I am NCR through and through. Okay, we're back. I had to change up some recording software because my camera was having some issues on NVIDIA Broadcast, so we're back on Logitech Capture, though I do lose out on the sweet background blur. Anyways, back to the questions. So, one plushy dude asks, Since the Fallout TV series is in the distant horizon, what would be your dream plot for the show if you are excited for it? And I actually have two options I think that would make for a really cool Fallout TV show. Now, one of which, if it's going to be post-war, I want the overall plot to be sort of something akin to traveling across the US. That way we get to see all facets of the universe in Fallout, the different locations, and how the war has affected these different places. Traveling like from Vegas to Boston, you would encounter so many different factions and environments. Just seeing more world building in the Fallout universe would be ideal for me. Now, another option would be pretty interesting is maybe a pre-war show about the espionage and the stuff going on in Vault-Tec up until the launch. Hypothetically, there could be a two-part show. First season is pre-war, explaining everything and what led to the launch, who caused the launch, all of the little tiny details down to the person. And then the second season being the effects of the war, 200 years later. That'd be pretty cool. I am excited to see what they do with a Fallout TV show. I hope they do it well, especially with a lot of the recent flops on the TV side of things. Cowboy Bebop. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it, and I hope it's something good. A Fallout-themed anything is usually something I'm going to enjoy, regardless of if it's bad, Fallout 4. So we'll see. I anticipate its release, and we'll just have to see how it is. The next couple of questions come from user Hugh Moore, who asks, have you made any other mods prior to the Fallout 4 combat rifle mod, including mods for other games? I actually did have a couple of mods for Fallout 4 beforehand, though they weren't the best quality, one of which was a simple retexture just to kind of like get my feet wet to see if I could even put something into the game, and the other was a leveled list edit that I actually did poorly, and it gave some issues to some users, so that's no longer on the Nexus. So good luck finding that one. Bonus question from Hugh Moore says, do you remember the first time you installed any mods? I think so. I think the first mods I ever installed were actually for New Vegas. I got a laptop and I was heading into college, and that's around the time that I started installing mods for the first time, I think. I may be mistaken. Actually, I think, yeah, no, that's wrong. That's completely wrong. That's the first time I installed mods on PC, and it was a really crappy laptop. The first time I installed mods was actually on Xbox, on the Fallout 4 Bethnet mods, which is like, as a first-time modding experience. It gets your feet wet. If I did all my research and I really learned how it actually worked so that I could do it properly. I get a lot of questions from people saying, you know, I installed 50 mods on my Xbox and now my game doesn't run, and it's like, you gotta do your research. You gotta learn how the mods work. It's usually, especially on Xbox, just an order thing, because you can't really mess up Xbox modding. It's just getting the order right. But yeah, that was my first experience. Excuse me, I go on tangents a lot. Xbox modding right around when mods first came out, which I think was like when Far Harbor dropped, maybe Nuka World, whenever they added official modding support to Xbox, and they were very, very bare bones mods. But that is definitely when I started modding, I think. I'm pretty sure that was it. The next question comes from Super Spaghetti Brawler, who asks, what got you into wanting to make your own mods in the first place for Fallout 4, and what did you actually use to get mods into the game? Coming from somebody who has no background in coding, I'm guessing that involved a lot of 3D modeling programs and maybe a program called Fallout 4 Edit or something. I feel like I'm going through a maze when I'm looking at files and folders in the games. So, I'm going to specifically focus on the how to make the mod part, because I feel like that's a little bit more interesting for people who have never done it. I mean, it's when you download a mod and you've literally never opened the CK, modding can be very daunting, and it's just a bunch of files, and you've got to wonder, how do people make things out of this? And so I'll kind of just run through the process of what it is to make like a weapon mod, for example, and it's not too crazy. For starters is getting your model. The model is going to be made in a 3D modeling program. For me, I use Blender. If you've got a bit more of a wallet, you can use something like 3ds Max, and that's going to have a lot of tools that are going to help you later in the process, but you can use it with free software like Blender, for example. From there, you can take it and either texture it or go and put it into the game first. It's up to how you want to do your workflow. I usually like to get the textures running first, and for that, I personally use Substance Painter. It's worth paying for me because it's a lot easier to be able to paint onto your 3D model than have to make a 2D paint scheme for your model. It's just how I like to operate, and I really like the tools available in Substance Painter. From there, you create your files. You've got your NIF, which you're going to create through 2 programs, so it is a little complicated. From Blender, you take your model from Blender and put it into Outfit Studio, which will convert it into a NIF, and then you take that NIF into NIF Scope and edit it to the size and shape you want to be put into the game, and then add any modifiers and everything. I usually use a vanilla weapon as a base, so for example, for my assault rifle remesh, I rip out the assault rifle and I take my mesh and I slam it into it, and it just kind of works. And then from there, you link up all of your textures from Substance Painter, for example. You create a material file, which is called a BGSM, using another software that creates BGSM files, and then you route from NIF Scope to the BGSM files. It probably sounds like nonsense, I'm realizing, the things that I'm saying to people who have never done this, but I promise if you got your hands on, you could figure it out pretty quick. When I was first looking at it, I was clueless, and now I could do it backwards. It's easy. From there, once you have your NIF, though, you just put it in the CK. You grab it in the CK. If you're doing something as simple as a model replacement, you literally just reroute the file. If you're creating your own weapon, there's a lot more steps to it, but it's essentially duplicate an old weapon and put in all of your information, create a new ID for it, and put in the stuff that you want to use. This is a very general description. If I gave the full layout, this would be an hour-long video. Maybe some point in the future, if I get better at making weapon mods. I still need to put out an update for the skewer because it has some problems that need to be addressed, but once I get that down, maybe a tutorial, like a rushed tutorial of how to do it all in one video, would be pretty interesting. The next question comes from user Vanta Black, and this one is pretty interesting. When Fallout 5 gets released, or whatever the next single-player Fallout is called, and it has modding support, do you think Fallout 4 will continue to be modded like Fallout 3 and New Vegas, or do you think it will just be stopped being modded on entirely? This is an interesting one. The New Vegas and Fallout 3 community are some die-hard fans, and some of them will refuse to move on to Fallout 4. They may have played it, but they always go back to New Vegas. And so I think New Vegas in particular has a very die-hard fan base who will always be modding that game, and they are making some really cool stuff over there, by the way. I've been seeing some dual-wielding mods coming out. Crazy. Fallout 3, I don't keep up with myself, so I can't speak to how long its lifespan is, but I feel like there's definitely more of a presence in New Vegas. Fallout 4, in my opinion, people are modding because it's the only modern Fallout that we have. And I think if a new Fallout came out, most of the mod authors would move to the new Fallout. I don't think that Fallout 4 has a die-hard community the way that New Vegas does. There aren't people who associate themselves with Fallout 4 rather than just Fallout. The reason I'm playing Fallout 4 is not because I love Fallout 4, it's because I love Fallout. And that's the one that we have. I'm not going to go back and play New Vegas because it's just getting a little bit dated. It is my favorite. It's finally starting to not hold up. Although there are mods that make it a little bit easier to play. Fallout 4, though, I don't think has that diehard community. People will still be making mods for it, but I think in my opinion, I think a majority of the modding scene would move. I'm curious to see how that applies to Starfield when it comes out. The next question comes from user Tristan Golding, who asks, what are your thoughts on these DLC-sized mods like Fallout Miami, Fallout Capital Wasteland, and the Fallout 4 New Vegas project? I love them. They're great. I think they are one of the primary reasons that the Fallout community is still alive for Fallout 4 specifically. New Vegas, like I said, always has that diehard community there, but Fallout 4 doesn't. Modding is what keeps these games alive, and Bethesda knows that. And I think these big projects are what are keeping some of these people around. Having things like the Fallout 4 New Vegas, having things like Project Mojave, which just dropped, being able to go back to your favorite locations from classic games is so cool. And also having new projects like Fallout London, Fallout Miami, where you've got some really cool new environments that are very, very well made. Seeing some of these models and creatures and stuff that they have for these new projects is absolutely insane. There are some very talented people working on these. And at this rate, I know a lot of people have been saying, like, yeah, they'll eventually release, but probably not till after the next Fallout. Well, thanks to our wonderful god Todd Howard, it sounds like the next Fallout isn't going to be for, like, at least 10 years. Yeah. I don't know why they're slacking like that, but, I guess they want to work on Starfield and Skyrim again, and Skyrim again, and Skyrim again. You get the point. So I think that these big DLC-sized Fallout projects could absolutely come to fruition. Some of them eventually may fall through the cracks, as a lot of these big projects tend to do, but I have high hopes. I think that some of these will end up coming to fruition and being some really cool things. I think Fallout Miami has a lot of potential, as well as Fallout London. They are getting some really cool stuff out there, so I'm excited. I mean, when they come out, I'm going to play them, I'm going to enjoy them. It's a new Fallout experience, so of course I'm going to like it. It's definitely giving me hope, though, for the modding community as a whole. So, definitely looking forward to them. The next question we got comes from user Fallen Lazy Rat, who asks, I've been here since around 6,000 subscribers. Since then, how has your production changed? Is there anything you wish you could tell your past self to make things easier? Now, the production hasn't changed a lot. It's mostly the same. You know, I'm making the same videos. Since 6,000 subs, series have changed around a bit. I have gotten very bad about consistency. I don't know how much that shows on the YouTube side of things, but on the recording and editing, I've been not doing things the way that I'd like to be doing them. And that's my fault. I've had, you know, things in life get crazy, and then Halo Infinite drops and makes the schedule a little funky, but things aren't quite how I'd like them to be at the moment. That being said, there are some other things that I think have made things easier. Investing in things like better recording equipment, I've got the new microphone, things that are just going to make the quality of the content better has definitely helped. Big shout out to Patreon users for helping in investing into the channel. And the other thing is my workflow. I think some days I don't necessarily say that, but my workflow has gotten better in overall terms. Before, I used to record in ways that made the process 2 times as long as it needed to be. Whereas now I think I've got a nice workflow where I can get B-roll and footage and do mod testing all in a way that kind of, it just makes the process quicker and makes for videos to come out faster. Because again, one of my favorite things that I like to do is getting a mod review out as quickly as possible. That way you have the information on the mod as soon as you need it, especially for some of these mods that have descriptions that just don't tell you everything. You know, it happens. They leave out information about level-less integration or crafting requirements or whatever, and being able to go in, read the files, and get all that out for you as fast as possible so you have the information you need is something I like to be able to do. And so I think that I've gotten my workflow faster. There are days that it definitely doesn't feel like that. There are technical issues, the mod stops working, whatever it may be that can throw that for a loop. But in general, the production itself hasn't changed much, but rather my workflow has. That being said, I would like that to change. I would like to eventually get this thing going to a point where I can put a bit more time out of my day into videos and have a better production quality and editing. I technically could do that now, but it would involve reducing the amount of content I reduce by a pretty large margin. So finding the balance between that is something I'm working on, and hopefully it will result in better videos in the future. So fingers crossed that things just keep working out well and I can really make these videos better for you guys. Next question comes from user Sky Arrow, who says, if you had all of the time and modding expertise in the world, what would you make? That's a tough one. I love weapon mods, and like, I sincerely do. It's one of my favorite parts of the Fallout experience, seeing what people can make that are unique and cool and interesting. That's my favorite thing. And so just making more fun, unique projects is definitely something I want to do, but I feel like that's something I can do now. But if I had all of the time and modding expertise in the world, then I would try to take my hand at doing one of these mega packs of weapons and changes to the game that make the game a little bit more like how I want to see it. And what that would look like if I was doing it would be pulling in a lot of stuff from old Fallouts. You know, try to get like literally everything to an extent from Fallout, adding the new ammo types that were just kind of missing from Fallout 4, like 22 long rifle. Why don't we have a silenced 22 pistol in the early game? I don't know. But that's something I would very much like to see, you know, and having some more Fallout, just more Fallout into the game, which luckily we have a lot of mods that do that already. But another thing is keeping them all consistent, having them all in one big pack where everything lines up and modifies. They all have the same attachments. It's something that I'm kind of working on with this attachment pack. I know people are really wanting that pack now, but it just takes a long time to do the things properly, to do them the way that I want them to be done. I could just slap a bunch of red dots on something and call it a pack, but that's not what I'm about. I want to do it the way that I'm envisioning it, and the more that I work on it, the bigger that project gets, but it will come out. That's why I've started moving on to standalone weapon mods. It's just so that I have something that I can release that you guys can play with. And I'm working on the attachment pack at the same time, and hopefully I'll have some updates on that soon. I keep expanding it and changing the way things are working and going back to step one and redesigning things. So you know what? That's my new answer. If I had all the time and the expertise in the world, I would try to get that stupid attachment pack done ASAP. Oh, it's a pain. It really is. But I'm working on it. It's coming. Like I said, hopefully update video very soon. Next question comes from Josh Ray, who asks, what is your guilty pleasure mod? A stupid or useless mod that you always have in your load order just because you love it so much. I don't think I really had anything like that until recently, but now I have the mod Get Out of My Face, which lets you push companions around. I like that one a lot, even in my super immersive load order that I play with myself. That one stays around. It's just too useful and also funny. So that's definitely my go-to guilty mod. Next question comes from user Zarak Black, who asks, with regards to your own personal load order, do you prefer lore-friendly mods or mods that are a bit more outside of the box? That's an interesting question. I don't necessarily know what you mean by outside of the box, maybe like outside of the lore-friendly scope, but in general, I do go for lore-friendly mods. The thing is that my definition of lore-friendly is not the same as everybody's. Everybody really like hooks onto this divergence theory of like there's a specific year where that is where Fallout is Fallout and not our universe, and anything beyond that year is not lore friendly. And that's just not how divergence theories work, like at all. And a lot of people have a misconception about that. So sorry to take your question and kind of divert it, but I do like lore-friendly mods. It's just that my lore-friendly is different. So divergence theory, people say, oh, anything after whatever the year is, I think it's like in the 50s or 60s, anything after that is not lore-friendly. But no. Divergence theory just means everything after that point is different. But not every single detail. It doesn't suddenly stop people from being born or stop inventions from being made. It just means that things are different. It means there are new things. Some things didn't get made, but unless Bethesda says specifically, the M9 Beretta never existed, then it existed. Or it could have existed, rather. Not that it did. Unless they specifically say no, then it's kind of up for grabs. It could be lore-friendly. Things that came out in the 2000s, more modern attachments, while it may not fit your aesthetic, it doesn't mean it's not lore-friendly. So I try to focus less on that, on the divergence theory, or that it's more so I create my own headcanon and I have my own style. And I think that's a bit more important than lore friendliness, is more so does it fit the style of Fallout? Fallout's weaponry and armors, for example, aren't the same as ours. You know, tons of molly and patches and tactical gear. That's not going to be on a Fallout armor. Really synthetic metal parts on a weapon, that's not really Fallout either. We got wood furniture or really cheap, gross plastic. and having a weapon that suits that is more what I'm looking for. And it's what I'm catering my attachment pack to. Some of the last times we've seen it, it was modern red dots and hollow sights, and I was trying to bridge the gap between tactical and lore-friendly. And I'm kind of moving into more of just a retro lore-friendly style. So I do like the retro lore-friendly stuff. That's my personal thing. Modern tactical has its place, it's just not in my load order. Alright, video's getting a bit long, but we've still got some more questions. The next is by user Kevin Mendoza, who asks, what has been your favorite part of creating content so far? That one's easy. My favorite part of creating content has been interacting with you guys. I say it a lot, it gets cliche, but it's true. Being able to interact with people who enjoy the things that I am making is so satisfying. It's a bit of an ego boost, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I would do this stuff anyways. I would be creating content anyways, I'd be creating mods anyways, and so having people like you guys who are so nice and so generous and who actually enjoy the things that I'm doing makes it all worth it. Being able to put all of my time and effort into something and somebody else appreciating it, even one person, if there's just one dedicated viewer who likes the thing that I'm doing, it makes it worth the time and the effort. And so it's really you guys, and having so many of you, 20,000 at this point, who said it was worth your time to subscribe, that makes the world, it makes all of this worth it. And so that's why I appreciate you guys so much. And I really want to be able to make better content for you and make this the best stuff that it can be, and hopefully revitalize your love for Fallout. And that's another reason I'm doing this, is being able to put some more life into the Fallout community. Any little bit that I can is really nice. Up next, we have a controversial question. What is your view on synths, and if something similar ever came to reality, how would you advocate for them to be used or produced? Synths. I've argued about this a lot on Discord, and people do not like my opinion. I am not a railroad agent, let's just put it that way. Synths are robots. Bottom line, you know, they may look like people, they may act like people, but the Institute is literally kidnapping and killing people and replacing them with synthetic versions. How are we cool with that? I know the railroad side of things is like, you know, oh, but they didn't know better. We took them away from that environment and made them better. I don't care. It's a robot. Like, if they're not causing problems, I'm not gonna do anything about it. But if they are, Gen 1s and Gen 2s, like, unequivocally dead on arrival. They're over with. They are evil, you know. And Gen 3s, it just kind of depends on the situation. But I'm pretty sure like 90% of them are there to replace somebody else, so they can just skedaddle. I don't like them. If they came to reality, dude, I'd fear for my life. Like, how could you not? There's people running around as imposters, like, in real life. Why would you want that? That's terrible. Get them out of here. No. Next question comes from Lane Nelson. Ian Nelson? I told you I'd mess up usernames. Hey, how are you doing? Any games that you play in your personal time, or does all of your game time go to YouTube? This is something that is very hard for me to balance. Very hard. Taking my free time and deciding if it's going to go to YouTube or to playing games is difficult, especially because of the release of Halo Infinite. I kind of got bored of games for a long time, and the only game on the horizon that I was looking forward to was Halo Infinite. I'm a big Halo fan as much as I am a Fallout fan, and there's obviously no Fallout coming out anytime soon, and the anniversary edition of Skyrim wasn't really piquing my fancy, but Halo Infinite was the one thing where I'm like, man, I cannot wait. And then they gave us a surprise release, and so now, deciding, alright, am I gonna go work on a video, or am I gonna go play some Halo, is a very difficult task for me. Luckily, I'm able to speed through a lot of the content in Halo because they give us weekly challenges, and I can do all of those and then work on Fallout pretty much until the next week. But the real thing that it's impacted in my free time is my mod making. Before the Halo's release, I have been balancing content creation on the YouTube side of things and then mod making. So it was like 50-50 split, sometimes more, sometimes less. I would be working on a video or I'd be working on a mod. And then I really got hooked on Valheim. And then I really got hooked on Halo. And so my mods have been seeing an impact of that. I've tried not to let it impact the YouTube side of things so I can keep content coming out for you guys, but it has definitely impacted Fallout, or modding, my personal mods. So working on that. It's going to be hard. Modding is going to be a bit slower because of it. I really try to take more time for myself now to do the things that I want to do. It helps with, you know, the depression side of things and just keeping yourself positive. Having time for yourself is nice, and Halo provides that for me, and so that's something I like to do with my time. It's going to be even harder when the campaign drops. Luckily, I think I can turn the campaign into some videos for you guys if you are interested in watching them. I put out a question, and most of you seemed interested. So we'll see how that goes. But right now, it's a tough balance. It really is. And apparently that actually wraps up. I thought we had more questions, but a lot of them have been answered in the previous Q&A. So if you hadn't seen that, I guess go check that out and we can answer some more questions. You can see me with 2 months shorter of a beard and 2 months shorter of hair. And that's basically it. Not a whole lot has really changed aside from subscriber count. We're still making the same content, and I intend to keep doing so, hopefully better. I want to get back to my old upload schedule. Most people didn't even notice that it was a thing, but I knew it was there. Survivors is coming back. That'll help regulate things. It's been a little while since we've done a mod bundle. Working on something for that too. And yeah, that is the Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks again so much for 20,000 subscribers. It's just a number I couldn't even possibly comprehend ever getting near, and that's crazy. That's a fifth of the way to 100,000. That's insane. And we got from 10K to 20K in 2 months. So, thanks guys. I mean it. Thank you.